So my name's Dan Ferguson. I'm going to host this track. Just a couple quick notes. About 5 minutes to the end of the session, we're going to open it up for QA. If you have any questions, there's a microphone right there. Just kind of queue up there. I'll stand up there when it's about appropriate time to get up and ask a question, so I'll get out of line as soon as somebody shows up. But I want to take a moment and introduce Kiira Benzing, who is the Executive Creative Director at Double I Studios. Kiira is an award-winning multi-dimensional director crossing the mediums of theater, hybrid cinema, and virtual reality. Everybody please give her a round of applause to welcome her on stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dan. Thank you guys for being here and joining us this afternoon after your lunch. So I thought I'd start off with a little song for you guys. So I'm going to pull something out of our show and do my best at singing. O great Pythia, daughter of Themis, daughter of Phoebe, daughter of Gaia, we would ask you to give us a sign so that we together may design a better life free from strife, filled with harmony, fellowship, liberty, and hope. And that's just a little excerpt from a song. Oh, thank you. Something that our actor Pamela Winslow Kashani sings. She plays the role of Hera in our show, and that is her plea to the oracle because she's asking for hope in this time when the gods have gone missing in Mount Olympus. She and her husband Zeus are looking for hope, and they have to unite with mankind to solve these puzzles, to work together collaboratively in order to find hope and in order to overcome all these different challenges throughout the show. And that embodies a lot of the principles in our storytelling and in our work at Double I Studios. So, as I take you through some of our work that we've been designing over the years, we've been concentrating on interactive XR. We've done a mix of AR and XR, but our primary focus in the last few years has been in social VR. A lot of these productions have exhibited all over the world at really wonderful film festivals, as well as in Disneyland with our narrative director, Alyssa Landry. That has rolled out to other theme parks. And we really have this wonderful focus these days on creating live experiences. The stuff that really matters to us, at the heart of it all, what really beats inside of each production that we create, are these three key ingredients. So this first one is about social connection. It's about us bringing an audience together, focusing on the community, not just creating individual solo experiences in VR. Next, we think what's really important is creating emotionally driven content, something that has a story so that our audience can experience a wide range of emotions. And finally, we want to create, since it's VR, something that is different than they can experience in the real world. We really want to take them on an adventure, enable them to do things and give them superpowers that they can't do, of course, in the physical world. So those are our kind of key ingredients that will find themselves stringing throughout all of our work. The way that we got to finding Pandora X and working with live actors, we started back in 2015. We created this stop motion experience, Cardboard City, which bled into this much more interactive work, which was built on this kind of multiplayer experience. It was a socially activated piece about gentrification, and we were taking live actors and improvisers and dancers, and we were embedding them in this production called Metropoles, where they would interact and improvise with other neighbors in their community. So the idea was that each person in the production, each person in the story world would be a neighbor, and they would be improvising with other neighbors and this live improviser dancer that would perform alongside inside the production. And the back end of that was Unity. And so we were building our kind of own custom experience. But then we came along to working with High Fidelity. Do any of you remember working inside High Fidelity? Raise your hands if you ever got to experience being inside the wonderful virtual worlds of high fidelity. We really loved the array of options that they had there. We thought the community was really wonderful and welcoming. And so we got to do a couple of R&D pieces with Philip Rosedale's team. They were just absolutely wonderful to us. And here's an image from one of our productions that we did with them where we were playing with scale. Our improvisers grew very large in size. They were picking up their imaginary baby that was flying up to them. And then these other actors that I'm working with here, Kareem and Carl, we were starting to look at the options of avatars across the metaverse. And we found that avatar selection is really important both to the actors and to our audiences. And we were looking for more diverse options. We made do with what was possible at the time, but we thought, if we can't see it, then we have to build it. And I'm sure a lot of you that are creators and the audience and storytellers as well feel that way. So that is what we began to do in our next production of Love Seat. We learned that if we are going to create these productions, we are going to have to find ways to design avatars that look like the actors that are performing inside of them. So in this production of Love Seat, this is Sam, our actor who's playing the character of the host. And this was modeled based on Sam. And it's an exaggerated version because we're enhancing different features. These characters are meant to look a bit like puppets. And the other ability that we've found that's been really wonderful in this production of our next production of Finding Pandora is that we can take and transcend what's even possible with human skin colors and use our imagination to create other types of avatars. So Love Seat was this production that we did at the Lazzaretto Vecchio in Venice in 2019, and it was performed in a hybrid format where we were performing to both a physical audience that we created and built a stage for, as well as to a virtual audience, and that was in social VR in that high fidelity platform. So the actors were actually performing simultaneously to two audiences, to the physical and to the virtual audience. So we created these windows for the audience to get to see each other and interact with a little bit, and that is something that we've continued to play with throughout in our work. Let me take you behind the scenes of the production of Love Seat and play that trailer. And maybe audio will come on. So I don't know if our audio is working here right now, but I can narrate over this. This production, again, was this hybrid performance. So here you see from inside the game engine that we filmed in, and here you see Jonathan and Jen and Sam playing in front of that audience in Venice. We could fly in high fidelity. We had these wonderful superpowers for our actors. And in 2020, we established the Virtual Repertory Theater. We found that there were not only actors shut out from Broadway that couldn't perform their regular jobs and looking for a new way to transcend their skill set and learn something different, but also stage managers and technicians, people that love their work in the theater community that wanted to find something new. So we partnered up with HP and we shipped kits out to our performers from home. Usually we'd been training our actors on the Lower East Side at this really wonderful theater called Culture Hub. And instead of working with technicians because everything was locked off due to the pandemic, we shipped these kits out to their homes and actually trained stage managers, actors, technicians, all to learn to run performances from home. And this has been ongoing in our work, and it's really been exciting for us. And so we really have had a really exciting time bringing more and more performers in with us. And Finding Pandora X, I'll come back just one moment here as things have mixed a tiny bit. Finding Pandora X is this kind of immersive production that is a bit like an escape room meets a game meets live theater. It's a mix of all of these things. The story structure is in that of a quest, and on the quest, the story branches. And you find that you are working with your fellow Greek chorus members to solve these puzzles. So we have these different storytelling principles that we think about when we create these live interactive productions. We like to think of someone more in terms of a player instead of a user. And we think that that language really infiltrates beyond just our dev team, but into every department that we're working with, from the artists, the engineers, the designers, the musicians. If we think of everyone as a player, then they're going to inherently begin to play more throughout the entire show, and we're all looking for opportunities for them to interact and play. We, of course, like to build these interactive productions, so we're giving the collective audience, this Greek chorus, this opportunity to wear this Greek chorus avatar. They're making choices, they're picking up different things, they're picking up puzzle pieces, they're grappling across Futura City to solve something, they're battling monsters in different scenes. They have a lot of agency, they have this ability to explore the environment, they have this ability to interact with some of the actors and improvise in these moments. Story is a really key part. So again, the story structure of Finding Pandora is that of a quest, but other shows that we've done are written in different formats. We really love branching narratives, and we've written about 6 of them in the past year. Embodiment is a key piece. Not only are our actors embodying these avatars, but also our audience is embodying these avatars. Everyone feels embodied, and when they look down in VR, they're fully wearing the avatar and beginning to transform into the character and role that we expect them to play. And lastly, liveness and presence. We talk a lot about these things, but not only are our actors feeling this sense of liveness from each other, from sharing this space, but also our audience is feeling this liveness because our actors are improvising and responding to the things that the audience is giving them. So we actually build space into the show in order for them to contribute and participate. And that's something that we're finding is exciting in the narrative, and I think something we can all continue to test in the new narratives that we create as storytellers in this field. Let me take you into a trailer now behind the scenes of Finding Pandora X.
So, what do you say? Are you ready to meddle in the affairs of the gods? Now remember, Zeus is a little temperamental. We must approach with caution. The chorus and I have come to deliver you a message.
We'll cease to exist. Mount Olympus will cease to exist.
Iris and Hermes are alive. They're just trapped in a lower dimension.
Then we must find them and bring them back. See if you can locate the Pandora that's just died.
Who's ready for a trip to the underworld?
So how many of you have been on an adventure with us in Finding Pandora X? Wonderful, wonderful. And did any of you get to go on both quests? Have you been more than once? So there's these 2 different types of branches in the show. There's one that we've set up, and we kind of try to use the language for the audience to be able to make a choice and listen. And sometimes they end up just wherever they're standing. But in other cases, we kind of watch them sort themselves based on the language that we've fed them. So we've created one branch that follows Zeus into the underworld that is our active branch. And that gives them things to smash, to break, to open, to fight, to battle. They're jumping through it. It's much more active. And then our other branch is much more logical. It's about puzzle solving. It is about fitting things together, figuring things out quickly. Both are still based on collaboration. You have to use your fellow audience members to solve. You can't just do it on your own. So we're really trying to pull in that sense of participatory nature, that sense of community building in both sides of the two types of quests and branches. But something that we found over the years are that there are these different types of audience members, and we think of them as these tiers of engagement that we can feed to in the story. So we have our observers. Those are our people that are kind of leaning back and they're passive, but as you saw, everyone in the show, everyone in the audience has to do a fair amount of being active. They have to keep up with the action and the actors. They are following on their feet through things. They all can sort of sit back and watch the puzzles get solved, or they can actively participate. Our observers are the ones that are taking in the story. Then we have our curious wanderers. These are the people who are really exploratory. They're the people that we find are kind of exploring all the way to the edges of each set of the world that we've set up for them. They are trying to explore to whatever we have built, and if we can also find ways to reward them, then we're going to give them something, a kind of Easter egg if we can, that they can bring back, encouraging them for having explored, because that's the type of player that they are. Then we have our connectors. These people are really social. They want to engage with the community, they want to talk to each other, they want to make sure that everyone feels included. We have our active adventurers. These are the people that want to grab everything that they can pick up. They want to touch everything. They want to solve the puzzles. They want to swing and grapple across Futura City. And then lastly, we have our rule breakers. These are the people that tend to be disruptive, but we've actually found that we're really grateful for them. We tend to learn from them. We learn where we need to listen in the show, where we need to build more space, or where we need to challenge them or make something more active. So since March 2020, we've really embraced all of the virtual tools that we've been using, and I'm sure many of you have as well, finding other ways of remote collaboration. But we've taken a lot of our meetings in social VR. So we'll actually do design meetings with our designers, and we'll fly up to the clouds of Mount Olympus, and we'll talk about the layout from the clouds instead of doing it in a Zoom meeting. We'll just use the ability to fly and use the ability of our world in social VR to have productive meetings. And a lot of times I hear from folks saying, well, I don't think you can have a serious or productive meeting if you're wearing a silly avatar, if you don't look fully photorealistic. But we've actually found that we can. This is Beth, she's our lighting designer. Beth Cates, she's based in Canada. This is one of her favorite avatars to wear. It's called a rabbit. It looks kind of like a full purple onesie with a rabbit mask. And yet she's having a very serious conversation with our engineers. She's talking about where they can position the lights in the underworld to create more shadows. And this was from a meeting that we had leading up to our premiere at Venice. We were working on a really fast timeline, and it was really wonderful for us to get to pull together as a team when we couldn't be physically close with each other. In our experimental work leading up to our premiere at Venice, we worked with Culture Hub and did these experiments in digital storytelling. And something that we started to engage with our audience was to really ask them about what they wanted in our next production. We asked them to tell us about their dreams, we asked them about their shadows, and finally they were contributing through these word clouds, and so what would emerge from the kind of collective consciousness of the group would float to the top. And what kept coming up was that they really wanted to fly. And so this was right at the beginning of lockdown, and we thought, okay, we better figure out how to give them a flying superpower. So our engineers built that, and it's a really physical embodied form of flying. This is something that you actually use your arms to move through the environment. You're really engaging your body. It's not just a gaze activation based or a pointing with your controller. This is really something that you're physically moving in, and it feels really childlike. Like it feels like a kind of sense of wonder that you have when you get to fly like this. And this is Zeus, who's giving our Greek chorus a flying lesson at the end of the show. So my last few things are just to kind of talk about what happens when we're running these live productions. There's an incredible amount of risk. Right now, this is a kind of preset cue for our show. We have a lighting board operator who's getting cues. They're receiving on the back end from our stage manager, who's responding to things that are happening in the environment and making sure we're on track. But all kinds of crazy things happen during the production. And here, if they're not listening carefully, then they'll keep our actors in darkness on the stage. So there's a lot of things that they're responding to in real time. This is a moment that happens right before the story branches. It's also an incredible time for a stage manager to have to listen to where the audience is going to sort to make sure that both crowds have an equal number of participants so that they can balance out correctly, because the puzzles on each side of the quests are meant to be collaborative, so they have to work together. And there's this human presence behind every moment of this. So with that risk, we are finding that we have to find ways to keep doing what we're doing, because we want to be able to connect with our audiences. And so we've opened our shows now to the public. We're off the film festival circuit. We've been having a really wonderful time seeing how our numbers are growing, coming in not only from Europe, but also from all over Asia. The numbers really prevailing coming in from Japan, China, South Korea, and Taiwan. And just the kind of incredible global reach that's been so exciting, that these audiences are so diverse. They don't speak the same language, and yet they're learning to share with each other and collaborate on all of these adventures together. So if you'd like to reach out to us, please find some information here. And I look forward to hearing any questions that you might have. And I think Dan is going to open up the floor with the microphone.
Very impressive. You were the most punctual person we've had all day.
Thank you, Dan.
Way to run a show. If anybody has any questions, I'd like you to step up to the microphone, and Kiira will be able to answer them. We've got a couple minutes to do that.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I'm curious, like in the world of kind of like VR theater, how do you determine kind of sense of scope and scale as it relates to these experiences? How do you know what is an interaction that is maybe too complex or too long or anything like that? How do you kind of measure these things when you're creating these type of performances?
So scope and scale in terms of the interaction, or in terms of the world?
That's
yeah,
correct,
the interaction. Okay, great. So I talked a little bit about the kind of levels of engagement, the tiers of audience types, and we're regularly adjusting. We rebuild the show, I would say almost every month. We're making a tweak to it just to see as things are going. We've pulled back on what we were doing. In Venice, we were rebuilding the show every day as we were seeing how the audiences were responding. That was really almost like a test audience for us. So what we're finding is that there definitely are things that are too challenging for people. If we expect too many of them to want to grapple, for example, in Futuricity, there's a moment where in order to trigger a bridge to bring the rest of the audience over, some people have to volunteer to grapple. And that's a pretty big risk to want to take. And some people don't know what they're getting into. And so they find themselves trying it, they could miss. So we've had to find ways to kind of scale back and make those clues more obvious for them, but still hit for the people that are really active, that want that challenge and want to step into the adventure. So it's definitely a good juggle. And so even before we did that, we built another puzzle on another side of a building that's more of a logical puzzle that other people could solve if they're not ready to fly their bodies across virtual space. You're welcome.
What are some of the best triggers or tools you use to get the attention of the wanderer or the curious person who might miss a key plot point because they're staring at a rock?
Yes. Sometimes they do miss plot points because they're staring at the rock, and we just know that we're going to lose them. But we do a lot with lighting and sound, and so we have these live lighting cues that are changing the space and guiding them back, so they kind of know this is an okay moment for you to explore, but if you're off in the shadows, you're really going to be missing the action. Occasionally we run after them if we think that they're just missing too much, or maybe they're lost, like they just did they want to come back to the stage, and then we can grab them, but sometimes they're happy and no, they want to go back behind the stage where they're not supposed to be. And then we've tried to build things in for them to make those people excited and give them something.
I'm curious, as you said, you were kind of revising almost on a daily basis, trying to perfect the show as you were putting it in front of different people. As you did that, did you get much of a sense for your audience in terms of, were they mostly people who like love theater, who are interested in trying it in this new way, or more people who are into VR and gaming and just thought that this would be a different way of experiencing that?
Both. Our audiences have been incredibly mixed. We've definitely had people that come from the theater world that have never put a headset on, that bought a headset for the first time ever to come see the show and now have decided, I'm not going to return this, and they plan to like see the show and return it to the store. Or they plan to, we had a couple that came to South by that planned to do the events at South by and then return it back to Best Buy. And what's been wonderful is that those people have come to us after and said, now we see the purpose. Like now there's so much, and they want to download Supernatural and Beat Saber and try all these other things. And that is a community that had nothing to do with XR. So that's been really exciting to see that kind of market growing. And then we've also had the gaming group that say, I've never been to theater, I've never really been interested, but this is really exciting, and it also feels a bit like a game.
It's great. We have one more question, really quick.
Okay, so sorry, it's going to be a very pragmatic question. Tell us about the ticketing. Like, you have actors, you have engineers. How do you make this work from a financial standpoint, and for something as like artistic and creative that is not driven by a brand or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. So when we were on the festival circuit, we were really grateful to have the sponsorship of HP, and that definitely made things financially possible for our actors and our crew. Now that we've gone on to this ticketed, we've opened to the public, and our shows are ticketed, those numbers are, it's definitely something interesting, and we're learning from that. I think that where we ended up putting our ticket price point, we offer a pretty hefty discount code if people pay attention and follow our website and look for the code. So when we sell those tickets, we're not making much money at all. We're just about breaking even. When we sell our higher ticketed point, then everyone does get to share in the box office. But it is tricky. We're definitely learning things, and I think that our tickets are at a slightly higher point than other shows on the market right now. And that's something that we're also trying to say to the rest of the industry. These are live performers. This is of value. We all need to honor that this is art and pay the right ticket point. And I think we'll continue to figure that out as an industry, and we're just part of one of those teams that will contribute to that conversation. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.